Welcome to the Essential Technologies for Web Development webinar, co-organized by Wiley and Everything Tech. In this session, we are going to focus on irreplaceable part of web application development. What makes HTML? Inline CSS, beautifying the HTML page. Make page presentable for mobile with CSS. World of JQuery. Importance of selectors. And animate your web application with CSS. To start with, I would like to introduce this full stack Java development book, authored by me and published by Wiley. This book covers front-end, back-end and database, the entire end-to-end web development process, REST web services with JSON, and it also takes you through a step-by-step project. Irreplaceable part of web application development. Essential element of front-end. If you are new to web application development, you may be wondering which part is the irreplaceable part. Let's look into this. HTML, which stands for Hypertext Markup Language, is the irreplaceable part of a web application. HTML code looks like this. We will explain this in detail soon. What, why and how of HTML. Let's talk about what. What is HTML? In order to get an answer to this question, we need to divide this word in three parts. First part, hypertext. Hypertext means text within text. In other words, hypertext is a text which refers to other text within the same document or other document that can be accessed. These documents are interconnected by hyperlinks. Hypertext not only refers to text but also refers to images, tables, etc. Markup governs the layout and formatting of a text document. HTML tags mark text or content inside them as certain type like italic, bold, etc. It also turns text into tables, lists, images, etc. Why HTML? HTML is mainly useful to design the structure of a web page. It offers various elements to control the position and placement of text, images, tables, etc. If you are new to web development, this could be the question you are facing. A web page is accessible via a browser like Chrome, Firefox or Internet Explorer through the internet or other networks like local area network, for example your home network, or peer-to-peer network where two computers can interact with each other. Now let's see how it works. We have HTML code like this, which gets rendered via a browser like Chrome, Firefox or Internet Explorer. Browser then renders this code and produces the output. In this example, we will see Hello World on the browser window and my page on the title bar of the browser. What are the benefits of using HTML? Mainly it is used to build websites, and almost all the websites in the world built on HTML. It is very simple to learn and lightweight as it does not require any additional plugins, special frameworks or any engines to run. It can run on any browser with no special software. What makes HTML? Important parts of HTML. There are two sections in HTML, head and body. Head is denoted by head tag, which has other special tags like title. Body part is denoted by body tag, which mainly contains the content that will get displayed on the browser window. Tags and elements. In this code, you can see words like HTML, head, title, body, and P, which begin with less than character and end with greater than. These symbols are also called angle brackets, and these angle brackets and words make tag. The first part is an opening tag and the second part is a closing tag. The only difference between an opening and a closing tag is the forward slash. Element is the collection of start tag, its attributes, an end tag, and everything that comes in between. Now you may be wondering, what are attributes? Let's try to answer that here. Attributes are used to define additional properties or characteristics of the elements. In this case, ID of the P element. Attributes can also be like height, width, etc. Global attributes. What does it mean by global attribute? Global attributes are attributes common to all HTML elements. As we have seen, the purpose of the attribute is to give elements meaning and context. Also, it is applicable to all the elements with a few exceptions. Class, access key, ID, hidden are a few examples of global attributes. Event handler attributes. Event handler attributes trigger actions in a browser based on events. How does it happen? JavaScript on which JQuery is built can react to the event handler attributes. As you can see, button element has onClick attribute, which triggers alert everyone function in JavaScript. So whenever you click on this button, it will trigger this alert everyone function. Benefits of event handlers. Event handlers play an important role in adding interactivity to the HTML pages. They also help in manipulating elements. Inline CSS adds style directly on the elements. What is inline CSS? Inline CSS is useful to add style to one particular element. Let's take this example of P element. If used in its simplest form, it will print hello world on a browser window in the default color of the text, which is black. However, we can use style attribute to add color to the text. Like shown here, we are adding style attribute which instructs browser to set the color as red. What are the benefits of using inline CSS? Inline CSS has the highest precedence. It means any styles that are defined in the internal and external style sheets are overridden by inline styles. It is very easy to add inline CSS on the elements as we don't need to define the selectors. We simply put the style directly on the required element. It's mostly faster to load as we are not pulling any external style file. However, for longer pages, it comes out slower to load than the external file. It is useful for standalone pages which are not related or cannot be related on the external resources such as email marketing. However, there are various drawbacks of inline CSS. In a complex web application, it may be difficult to trace the unwanted overriding of styles, which may occur due to the inline CSS. Since the style is applied to the elements directly, we cannot use it to style other elements. In order to style them all, we have to add the same code on various elements individually. This creates duplicate code, which is difficult to maintain as any small change in style will trigger large edits on all the elements. Also, this duplication will increase the page size, which will lead to slow load time. And as the number of pages increase, the maintainability aspect goes down and it becomes difficult to manage styles of various elements. Now let's see some examples of inline CSS. We can use various properties like colors, font size, etc. And we can even have more than one properties like shown in the third example. Beautifying the HTML. Style your web page. What is CSS? CSS mainly affects in two areas. One is to control the presentation of the web page, where it can specify alignments, sections, positions, etc. of the elements. And second area is to control the look and feel of the page by styling elements with colors, fonts, images, backgrounds, etc. Ways to add CSS. There are mainly three ways we can add CSS to a page. Inline, which we have seen earlier. Internal CSS, where we can add styles for the elements in the head. And external CSS, where we can link external CSS file. If you want to learn more about CSS, please grab a copy of Full Stack Java Development with Spring MVC, Hibernate, JQuery and Bootstrap. Beautify HTML pages. As we have seen earlier, there are two ways CSS affects the HTML pages. On the structure side, CSS offers a lot of properties like float, display, margin, padding, right, left, top, bottom, position, table, etc. And on the look and feel side, CSS offers color, background color, font size, text align, text decoration, cursor, list style type, border color, etc. Make pages presentable for mobile with CSS. Responsiveness. What is it and why to care? Responsiveness is to make sure the page automatically adjusts and adapts to any device screen size. The content looks good by rendering it properly as per the screen. Nowadays we have a lot of different devices with varied screen sizes like TV, iPad, mobile, computer screen, smartwatch, etc. And hence it is important to make sure the page looks good on all these devices. Responsive with CSS. Viewport is the user's visible area of a web page. It changes as per device, where it is smaller on smaller devices like mobile phones and relatively larger on computer screens. HTML5 comes with a meta tag to control the viewport, which looks like this. In this example, the first part specifies that this meta tag is for viewport. The second part instructs browser to follow the screen width of the device. And third part instructs to set the initial zoom level of the page. In this case, it's 1. There is consideration going on for standardizing viewport meta tags into the viewport rule, which looks like this. Media queries. What are media queries? Media queries allow to use different styles as per device's capabilities. CSS3 extended the CSS to media types concept as it was failed to get support by all the devices. Media queries does not look for a type of device, but look at the capability of the device. It can be used for checking width and height of the viewport and device. Check for orientation and resolution. Media features define specific characteristics such as width, height, aspect ratio, etc. These can be used by media queries to apply specific style. World of jQuery. The idea of jQuery. jQuery is built on JavaScript, which offers various easy to use methods to manipulate DOM as well as Ajax. jQuery is a lightweight library which preach for write less, do more. Yes, that's a valid question if you're new to JavaScript. Your frustration is understandable. Let's not worry too much about it. Let's look into JavaScript. JavaScript is an interpreted language and not a compiled language, which means there is no compiler, just an interpreter in the browser. It is an event-driven language where every execution is based on an event. It is an object-oriented language, however, not a class-based object-oriented language like Java, C++, etc., but a prototype-based language. JavaScript is a high-level language, which means it does not depend on the underlying computer type, and it is more of a human-readable language. JavaScript is a dynamic language, as you can create new variables at runtime, and also the type of variables is determined at runtime. JavaScript has curly bracket syntax, just like Java, where function starts and ends with curly brackets. It has just-in-time compiler, which means it compiles JavaScript to executable bytecode just before it runs. It has first-class functions. It means functions are treated like any other first-class object, like stored in variables, passed around, returned from other functions, and even hold their own properties. JavaScript can hide HTML elements, change HTML content, show hidden HTML elements, change CSS style, change HTML attributes, etc. Let's look at the example. In this example, we have defined a JavaScript function which aims to change the content of the element which has ID named myTag. As you can see on the right hand side, HTML code which contains element P which has ID named myTag. However, we don't have any mechanism to trigger this function named myFunction. Now let's look into this example where we have added a button which can trigger this myFunction on click action. So now you know JavaScript, right? To learn more about JavaScript, please visit www.everythingtech.co/javascript. Benefits of jQuery. It is a library built on JavaScript which simplifies code, a fancy version of JavaScript. jQuery is easy to learn and use. Once you know the structure, you will be able to use jQuery in your application. In jQuery, desired tasks can be achieved with less lines of code when compared to JavaScript. jQuery offers easy way to use Ajax for asynchronous communication. jQuery has cross-browser support. jQuery offers various plugins to animate HTML elements. Importance of selectors. What are selectors? Selectors allow to select HTML elements so we can manipulate them. There are various selectors you can use like ID, name, classes, types, attributes, and values of attributes. Use of selectors. Take this div element example which has ID as my ID and class as my class and contains value as hello world. jQuery selectors start with the $ and parenthesis. So in this div example, we can use type selector like dollar, then open bracket and div in double quotes, followed by close bracket. It also has ID selector like dollar, then open bracket, hash to specify this is an ID selector, and then ID name as my ID, followed by closing bracket. Similarly, we have class selector, but instead of hash, we have dot to declare this as class selector. Now see these selectors in this JQuery code, where we are using functions like hide and show on these selectors. Animate your web application with CSS. What are CSS effects? If you are new to this, you may find good resources at Everything Tech. Visit www.everythingtech.co/CSS to learn more about this. CSS effects add animation to the HTML elements on a page. How to use CSS effects? CSS offers various properties which can be used to animate the HTML elements like keyframes, animation name, animation duration, animation delay, animation iteration count, animation direction, animation timing function, animation field mode, and animation. Let's look at this example in which we have HTML code with empty div element. Now let's look at the right side of this example, which shows the CSS code that first style this div element where it sets width as 100px, height as 100px, and background color as blue. It gives animation name and duration as 5 seconds. It then animates this div element in which div is changing from blue to orange. Thank you for your time. I hope you have enjoyed this webinar. See you in the next one.